Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Asia Pacific Tours, can I help you?
Yes, I've been looking at your website and I'd like some more information about your activity holidays.
Certainly. You know, of course, the prices of the tours include stays in 3-star hotels and they include airfares.
Great. What about your tour of Vietnam? My sister went there last year and loved it.
Yes, it's a really beautiful place and probably our fastest growing destination. Now, that package includes several opportunities to take courses.
Don't you have a cookery course of some kind?
We certainly do. If you love eating out in Vietnam like most people do and want to know how to prepare a meal, you can learn how from a master in a 5-star hotel. On another day, you have a choice of 2 activities. The first is instruction in diving in the South China Sea. Not a certificate course, but just an introduction. Most people think it's wonderful. Or, if you want to stay dry but still want some exercise, you can spend the day on a trek through the jungle near the beach. It's not difficult, and everyone seems to enjoy it.
Anything cultural on offer?
We used to take people to a Vietnamese opera, but that didn't prove so popular. So now we include a dance show, and our clients all rave about that. They say the colours are just magnificent.
What's the cost?
I've just noticed it's now a special price. The holiday used to be £1,600, but it's just been reduced to £1,450, so you do save quite a bit, and as I said, it seems to be our up-and-coming tour.
Well, let's see. Perhaps you could tell me a little about the Hong Kong tour. I notice it includes a walk in the hills of one of their country parks, where you have the chance to see birds of all sorts.
Yes, that's a very popular activity. People don't realise that Hong Kong isn't just a crowded city. That's a half-day activity and you go with a trained escort, and it includes dinner in a monastery where you end your day. And then we wouldn't want you to miss out altogether on shopping, so there's another day when we take you round an electronics factory. Now, that might sound like an odd thing to do, but it's actually really fascinating and not like your usual ceramics factory. And you can buy their products there quite cheaply. Now, the whole Hong Kong package is just £1,320 per person.
Sounds interesting.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10 on page 2. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
But let me find out about one more place. I've always wanted to go to Korea, but not on this trip. And I've been to Thailand, which I loved. But what about your Japan package?
Good choice. Well, that tour includes a terrific trip to a museum of traditional costume. The exhibits are gorgeous. They've got an absolutely priceless collection.
And I think the website says you take your clients to a market, don't you? A crafts market, I think.
Well, we do go to a market, but it's one that sells fish, and it's one of the largest in the world. And you have the chance to sample the wares in a little restaurant nearby. We also give you plenty of free time to wander around the city with our guides if you want.
And what's the cost of all that?
£1,800.
Well, you've been ever so helpful. I've noted all the details down, and I'll get back to you when I've made up my mind.
If we can give you any more help, do ring back.
Thanks, I will.
Part 2. You will hear a woman introducing a new fitness center to the local residents. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone. We are gathered today for the unveiling of our new fitness centre. Our business started in 2006 when we recognized the need for a new, modern and affordable fitness center for those living in the area. We pulled resources together and started a small center just off this road to your left. We have been there over the years until we decided we needed more room and more facilities due to the increasing numbers. This new facility is estimated to contain at least 1,000 people at a time and is equipped with the latest state-of-the-art fitness facilities you can think of. From the entrance, just to your right, you would get to the meeting room where we hold team meetings sometimes. In the past, our customers usually came in through the west gate and went to the first room on their left to exercise. Well, this room used to be the gym room, but now it's the women's fitting room. Our female customers can change and try on clothes there. The gym room would be the big room on your right as you enter from the west gate. It houses state-of-the-art gym equipment, as well as provides an arena for working out. At the top right corner of the map, we have the men's fitting room where men can change with some privacy. Some squash members say they would like to have classes at the room between two fitting rooms, as it would be more convenient to change after sweating. Well, we will have a discussion about it and inform you if any changes happen. Now our squash court is still at the other wing, situated directly opposite the west gate. The larger building behind it is the largest in the state for skating courses. It provides adequate conditioning and the properly selected tracks for beginners.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Why invest a lot in fitness and sports? Well, we have observed that in our society, the rate at which people develop preventable diseases is alarming. Statistics show that there is a very strong link between sedentary lifestyle and these diseases. We have set up this centre to correct and combat it while making sure it is open, accessible and affordable to all. To develop overall strength in the individual, the fitness machines are built to help those who always complain of muscle weakness, to overcome their challenges. We also have rooms for mat exercises. Many people always think that such exercises are only good for limbs and shoulders. Well, actually, for anyone who wants to have a flexible body, these exercises such as plank and crunches are a good choice. You don't need any high-end fitness equipment. We also have an expanse of space just behind the building that we use for cycling exercises. This sport is good to help develop strength in the legs, and it is equally a good way of freeing the mind. Many members hope that such exercises will help them lose weight. I'm afraid they don't work that way. We offer aerobics for those interested in raising their heart rate. It is a great sport to train your mind and also makes blood flow more efficient and faster. Contrary to what most people think, weight training does little to help you lose weight, but it does help you develop solid mental coordination and to stay focused without getting distracted so easily. So, as we unveil this centre today, we're glad that you can also be a part of this step in the right direction. Thank you all for honouring us.
That's the end of part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
You will hear two students discussing a presentation they are going to give. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Robert.
Hi. Sorry I'm late. I was just printing off some pages about food waste in Britain.
Do you want to include Britain in the presentation? I thought we were concentrating on the USA.
Well, it is a global problem, so I thought we ought to provide some statistics that show that.
Fair enough. What did you find out?
Well, I was looking at a British study from 2013. It basically concluded that £12 billion worth of food and drink was thrown away each year, all of it ending up in landfill sites. Over 8 million tons. And that wasn't including packaging.
An incredible amount.
Yes, and they were only looking at what households threw away, so there's no information about restaurants and the catering industry. But one thing the study did investigate was the amount of milk and soft drinks that were wasted, and I think it was probably quite unique in that respect.
Interesting. You know, in the other European reports I've read, there's one thing they have in common when they talk about carbon dioxide emissions.
I know what you are going to say. They never refer to the fuel that farms and factories require to produce the food, and the carbon dioxide that releases?
Exactly. We could really cut down on carbon emissions if less food was supplied in the first place. To my mind, the reports talk too much about the carbon dioxide produced by the trucks that deliver the fresh goods to the shops and take the waste away. They forget about one of the key causes of carbon dioxide.
Absolutely. If the reports are actually going to be useful to people, they need to be more comprehensive.
Who do you mean by people?
Well, the government, industries, people making television programs. Have you seen any documentaries about food waste?
Not that I remember.
My point exactly. These days, they all seem to be focusing on where your meat, fruit, and vegetables are sourced from. We're being encouraged to buy locally, not from overseas. That's probably a good thing, but I'd still like to see something about waste.
Yes, it's the same with magazine articles. It's all about fat and sugar content, and the kind of additives and coloring in food, but nothing about how it reaches your table and what happens after it ends up in the bin.
Well, we've only got 15 minutes for this presentation, so I think we'll have to limit what we say about the consequences of food waste. What do we want to concentrate on?
Well, I know some of the other presentations are looking at food and farming methods and what they do to the environment. So I think we'll avoid that. And the fact that in some countries, people can't afford the food grown on their own farms. That was covered last term.
Okay, we don't want to repeat stuff.
What concerns me above all else is that in a recession, governments should be encouraging business to find ways to cut costs. Apparently, supermarkets in the USA lose about 11% of their fruit to waste. That's throwing money away.
All right, we'll focus on that problem. It should get the others' attention anyway. Now, how do you want to begin the presentation? Let's not start with statistics, though, because that's what everybody does.
I agree. How about we give the other students a set of questions to answer about what they suspect they waste every day?
I'm fine with that. Probably a better option than showing pictures of landfill sites. It'll be more personalized that way.
Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Okay, shall we now have a look at the projects that different researchers and organizations are working on?
For me, the project I really liked was the one at Tufts University. You know, where they've invented tiny edible patches to stick on fresh foods that show you what level of bacteria is present, and so whether you can still eat it.
It's a great idea, as it tells you if you need to hurry up and eat the food before it goes off. The other good thing about the patches is that apparently they'll be cheap to manufacture.
Good. Then the other thing I thought was great was the Massachusetts Institute of Technology project.
I hadn't seen that.
Well, they've developed these sensors that can detect tiny amounts of ethylene. Ethylene is the natural plant hormone in fruit that makes them turn ripe, apparently. The researchers think that they can attach the sensors to cardboard boxes, and then supermarkets can scan the sensors with a portable device to see how ripe the fruit inside is. That's got to be a quicker way to check for ripeness than taking each box off the shelf and opening it.
Definitely. And I thought that Lean Path was worth mentioning too. Their waste tracking technology means that caterers can see how much food is being wasted and why. That'll increase profits for them eventually.
Yes. And did you read about 0%? They've produced this smartphone application that allows restaurants to send donation alerts to food charities. The charities can then pick up the unwanted food and distribute it to people in need.
In the long run, that'll definitely benefit poorer families in the neighborhood. No kid should go to school hungry.
I agree. And I read that quite a few local governments in the USA are thinking about introducing compulsory composting in their states. So you can't put any food waste into your rubbish bins, just the compost bin.
Well, I guess that means a bit more work for people. I mean, they have to separate the organic and inorganic waste themselves before they take it out to the compost bin. And you know how lazy some people are. But I guess if we all start composting, we'd be doing something positive about the problem of food waste ourselves, rather than relying on the government to sort it out. Having said that, not everyone has a garden, so I guess...
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
You will hear a lecture about Viking life and culture. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now, listen carefully and answer the questions.
The Vikings, known for their seafaring skills, were not only warriors but also traders and explorers. Their voyages extended far beyond Scandinavia, reaching as far as North America. One significant piece of evidence confirming this is the discovery of a small silver coin found in a site associated with indigenous settlements. This finding suggests that Viking traders may have engaged in exchanges with indigenous people, possibly bartering metal goods or textiles for local resources. Warfare played an important role in Viking society, and they were skilled in producing and using a variety of weapons. Archaeological digs have unearthed a range of armaments, including spears, axes, and an especially well-crafted weapon, likely used both in combat and for ceremonial purposes. These weapons were often passed down through generations, signifying status and craftsmanship. One of the Vikings' most impressive achievements was their advanced shipbuilding techniques. They designed sleek, sturdy vessels capable of enduring long sea voyages. A key feature of their longships was a large sail, allowing them to harness wind power and travel efficiently across vast distances. This innovation enabled them to raid, trade, and establish settlements across Europe and beyond. Given the harsh conditions at sea, preserving food for long voyages was crucial. Vikings employed various methods to prevent spoilage. One commonly used technique involved drying or curing meat, but they also relied heavily on a natural preservative, mainly salt. This ensured that their supplies remained edible for extended periods, particularly during their voyages to distant lands. Everyday life among the Vikings was quite different from modern times. For instance, their drinking vessels were often made from natural materials rather than glass or ceramics. A common choice was a horn, which was both lightweight and durable. Eating utensils, on the other hand, were simpler than those we use today. Rather than using spoons and knives exclusively, Vikings commonly carried a fork, which served multiple purposes, including assisting in eating and even as a small tool. Viking sailors frequently encountered storms and rough waters, which often led to ship damage. However, they were highly skilled in maintaining and restoring their vessels. Rather than abandoning damaged ships, they made on-the-spot repairs, reinforcing wooden planks, sealing leaks, and replacing worn-out parts. Their ability to repair ships ensured their survival during long and dangerous sea journeys. Vikings also had a remarkable ability to craft objects from raw materials. They were particularly adept at working with oars, transforming them into tools and weapons. One of the most essential materials they relied on was metal, which they shaped into swords, armour, and farming implements. Like many ancient societies, Vikings passed down their history through oral traditions rather than written records. They often gathered around fires or in great halls to listen to recitations of heroic tales and myths. These narratives were preserved and transmitted through poems, which kept their cultural heritage alive for generations. Unlike in some contemporary societies of the time, Viking women had certain legal rights. They were able to inherit property and manage businesses. More notably, they had the right to approach a court if they wished to end their marriage. In such cases, a woman could formally request a divorce, a practice that was relatively uncommon in many other medieval cultures.